What's going on, everybody? It's your guys, the Fantasy First Rounders, bringing you stats to win your ships, man. Presented by the Rumboyz and SportsMe. Here we go. Howdy, everybody. We got one more thing from FF Peacock. Well, everybody, welcome on in. Same bat time, different bat channel, y'all. Y'all know us as the Fantasy First Rounders, Chris, Tom, Ryan, and Billy, man, bringing you some good information on this Wednesday afternoon, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Can't complain.
Doing awesome, man.
Excellent, guys. If y'all can't hear me too well, or y'all have never tuned into the show before, I'm a little nasally. My 2-year-old toddler's got one of those things, that's kind of running around. So I might dip out a little bit earlier as my cohorts take over. But guys, we're going to jump right into this. We're not going to talk about anything else but this running back situation in Houston. Obviously, with Mark Ingram, y'all know how much I love him. SEC guy out of Alabama. Big fan of his loyalty to the team, what he did in New Orleans, waited for them when they got off the plane. Then I was a big guy on him when he came to the Texans. Hurt me a little bit because Billy, you know how much I love DJ, but still, it was okay. Also, they signed Phillip Lindsay, an undrafted guy who has a story, and y'all know how much I love narratives. So this is a really, it's like a dagger, et tu brute type thing, where all three of these guys I absolutely love in different ways. When I'm looking at this team right now, first of all, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if they're going to have to run the ball 100,000 times next year with Ty God behind center. But when you're looking at them, you got David Johnson, Mark Ingram, Phillip Lindsay. I'll let you guys highlight these guys individually, or maybe only talk about one or two of them. But DJ, man, come on. Let's go. Be the bell cow. Come on, DJ. What do y'all think?
Yeah, man, I'll be honest. DJ's just not my guy. I can't get hype on him, right? I mean, looking over his career here, there's not really anything that stands out other than there's 2 good years in Arizona, really. 2016, 1,200 yards, 16 touchdowns. Fantastic. But after that, he only had one other season that stood out at all, 940 in 2018 with 7 touchdowns. But he averaged 3.6 yards per carry. That's not good. That's downright bad numbers, right? He's never been a very efficient runner since his first 2 years in the league, and even then it wasn't great. Last year was his best with 4.7 yards a carry, but he only got 691 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now you bring in Mark Ingram, who personally I think is going to be kind of a non-factor, and Phillip Lindsay, who Lord only knows what's going to happen with him. I just don't know what to expect out of this backfield. And personally, I can't get too high on any of them because of that.
That's fair.
I'm all aboard the Lindsay train. He has the highest yards per carry out of all 3 of those guys. He's the youngest of all 3 of those guys. This is a unique opportunity for him to have those good veterans around to learn from. He can take the starting job, or when I say the starting job, maybe 50% of the carries with the other guys splitting the 50. I do think Ingram could be done. I'm not certain yet, but last year wasn't so great. But I'm really on the Lindsay. I'm looking at Lindsay in drafts right now.
And these 3 guys in one backfield is kind of unfortunate because they could all be fantasy relevant on their own. And we saw David Johnson end the year on 3 pretty good games. Not great, but pretty good to show that he does have a little bit in the tank, especially catching out of the backfield. Mark Ingram, I think, kind of just fell into the trap that was Baltimore, and he was down on the depth chart, and maybe an effort to keep him healthy, or just game day type situations where you got to cut your roster down. He's a guy that wouldn't have a big workload. However, Philip Lindsay, like you said, the youngest guy of the group coming in, he's got a little bit to prove because he has played well. There's 6,000-yard seasons between these three guys, and Philip Lindsay has 2 of them in their first 3 years. Mark Ingram took year 6 and 7 for him to do it, and David Johnson only did it in that year 2 that we talked about with Tom. So as much as I love David Johnson, I do feel like he might be getting to the point where he's kind of over the hill. However, there could be weeks where he has RB2 upside. I look for Lindsay to take control of this job. Ingram and David Johnson both could be cuts by the time this season gets underway.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I'm just going to move on, guys, because I don't want to talk about the Houston Texans anymore. Sue me. Shouldn't have said that.
I wonder why.
But let's move on to Billy's Indianapolis Colts, guys. Obviously, JTT. Tom, take it over. You got it.
I mean, let's be honest. Jonathan Taylor is a stud, right? I mean, I don't know what anybody wants to say. If you don't know Jonathan Taylor, go back and look at his film from last year. This dude's 5'10", 226. He's built, right? Averaged 5 yards a carry last season, 1,100 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, 11 rushing touchdowns. And by the way, also had 300 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. So he's not like a one-trick pony. He can catch the ball better than some of these little bit thicker backs look like, right? Not that he's a big guy, but behind him, obviously, Nyheim Hines there, Marlon Mack there. Some guys, they'll get touches, but the big story here, JTT, Jonathan Taylor touchdown.
Yeah, for me, I'm interested in Marlon Mack as like a flex type of a guy because I do think he's going to kind of make Hines irrelevant, which is sad because Hines is a good weapon as a pass catcher, but I think Mack can be that guy, and you're looking at a full-blown RB1 workload for JTT next year.
Yeah, JTT, kind of the new hot thing, really showed down the stretch that he was what he was drafted to be, and then some. A guy the Colts haven't had in decades, probably since Edgerrin James, since they had a running back that made this sort of impact. Maybe not the same guy, don't get me wrong, but I'm loving what I'm seeing out of JTT. Marlon Mack coming back, I feel like it's just kind of the Colts keeping him around. They know what they have. He's a good player. They like him. However, he is coming off that Achilles injury, so he's kind of sitting tight while he gets healthy, I believe. And if JTT gets banged up down the stretch, I could see Marlon Mack taking a little bit of the workload to keep JTT on the field. Or if he were to miss some time, I think Marlon Mack might shine. Nyheim Hines showing he's a threat of the backfield. 2 of his 3 seasons with 60-plus catches. Definitely a guy you like to have in PPR. However, it's kind of a matchup based, and can you guess the right week to put Nyheim Hines and have a big impact in your fantasy lineup?
The only thing I want to add to that is because we hear this often, right, with JTT about his usage and things like that, especially in college. Is he overworked? Maybe the Todd Gurley type thing, right? Well, you exclude Todd Gurley from this conversation because in college he didn't have the workload that JTT had, correct? I was on Rumboyz After Dark last week, as y'all saw, and we talked a little bit about JTT's usage, and the big thing was, is he going to get hurt? Is this going to continue? Will he just be a one-and-done type cat? Well, when you look at the true body of work from all running backs out of college who had the workload that JTT had, only a few of them had that. We're looking at LT. We're looking at some big names, Herschel Walker. The big stat is, regardless of that, is guys who had the type of workload that JTT had in college are, quote-unquote, statistically less likely to get an injury this year in the NFL. They're actually healthier. They play more games and they have more touches. It blew my mind when I read this article. That was from, I think that was Gridiron Experts, but great read. And then the last thing is Marlon Mack, man. We all know how much I love Marlon Mack. He had in his greatest season, the best season, that 1,000-yard season, 246 total touches. Last year, how upset was I with Frank Wright and JTT had 237 and still outdid Marlon Mack. You got to love JTT, guys, right? That's our guy. Number 2 for me for Dynasty. Sorry, Ryan.
That's all right. Take one.
Moving on, Ryan. Why don't you take us down to Jacksonville, baby?
Woo! I'm in love with a man from Jacksonville. His name is James Robinson. Don't tell my wife. What more did I need to see from him last year? He did everything I wanted to see on a team that was not very good. 4.5 yards per carry. I know that that's going to go up because he's going to have an actual offense with him. He's not, again, if he would have played with Minshew the whole season, I would have thinking those numbers would have been higher. They would have been higher. He would have scored more likely. But the guy's a beast out of the backfield, catching the ball, had 49 catches, 60 targets. I could see that number holding about steady next year as well. Lawrence's best friend is going to be Robinson. I don't care about Hyde. He's an excellent backup, but I am all about James Robinson this year. I'm buying in 100%.
Yeah, I'm a big James Robinson fan as well. RB7 last year as a rookie coming out of nowhere. I was high on Divine Zigbo, and they had some other guys, Chris Thompson coming down, linking up with an old coach that we kind of thought would muddy up this backfield, and James Robinson really took the job and shined. And the first thing Urban Meyer did when he took over as head coach is he called James Robinson. I heard the interview on Sirius XM radio. Sounded really, really excited from the talk that him and Urban had. So no reason for me to believe that Carlos Hyde is anything but an insurance policy, a vet to help the young guy, and just a connection with the coach, a little bit of trust maybe for some situation. But James Robinson, one thing I'm really excited about, 49 catches out of the backfield last year, and a guy that, everybody wasn't real sure what his skill set is, so no reason to think he can't expand on that. I like the Carlos Hyde signing as kind of a vet in the young guy's ear. I like that kind of thing.
The big plus for James Robinson for everyone right now is, Ryan, like you were mentioning to and alluding to, he's 22 years old. 22! Yeah. 22 and already had a top 5 season in the NFL. You got to like that. The dude, I don't know what he's going to do with Lawrence next year, and obviously Urban Meyer is going to have to utilize him a little bit. Speaking about the backup, though, Carlos Hyde, right? Him and Urban have that connection, so you would think that Hyde's there to mentor Robinson a little bit. I would think a little bit. You two have touched on everything about James Robinson, stats, everything like that. Oh, here we go. He exceeded points per game last year by 5.6 points. That being said, how crazy is he going to be this year? His ADP right now is what, 4th, 5th round?
Ooh,
that's a steal.
Yeah, it is a steal. Yeah. And there's no reason to think that if the Jags clean up the quarterback situation that he won't be an even more utilized weapon down there in Jacksonville in a division that's got some decent matchups week in, week out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you guys know what I'm about to say. Minshew would have made all the difference, right? If you don't follow me on Twitter at FFRTom, we just had a little blow up on Minshew today. So, but I digress. I'll leave that for Twitter. In the meantime, James Robinson, looking at last year's stats, one of the things I want to point out is that this is on a team that, again, it's a bad team. Well, by the way, they also passed at the highest rate out of any team in the league, passing on 66.2% of plays, right? And he still put up those great numbers. The only thing I had concerns with is his yards per attempt at 4.5. But I think that the biggest attribute to that is really just the fact that there's no other offense around it. And the offensive line is bad, just bad, right? So I think that you'll see that offensive line improve. It's developing. It's a younger offensive line other than Linder and Norwell. So that'll help him. Again, getting Trevor Lawrence helps him. But the one thing I do want to say as far as a kind of second running back here is not so much of a running back, but it's a receiver, Laviska Shenault. I'm curious to see, are we going to get that flexibility of Shenault moving around? We heard it coming out of the draft. Is he going to go out of the backfield this year? Could he get some running back eligibility? Could be interesting to watch. Definitely a solid flex play for me going into the year with the upside of going to a solid wide receiver 2, or if he gets the flexibility, running back 2, depending on how they used him, I could see it getting that high pretty easily.
I want to give a quick shout out to everyone in our chat, man. Robbie, Bo, Scott, Liz, Nick from P2. Man, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's answer this question real quick from Bogard. Trevor Lawrence used to sell the play action in the red zone and run it in himself a lot. Do we think, or are we worried about him carrying that on, affecting James Robinson? Real quick, I'll give you my short answer. Absolutely not. I feel like he's the face of the franchise. Urban Meyer's going to, he might do it 1 or 2 times. That first time he's going to get yelled at. That second time it's probably going to be like, okay, that was okay. And the third time will never happen.
Yeah, Kevin, that getting him in the 5th round, that's a league-winning pick in my opinion. And
He's
then
in my league. He's in the league that I'm in. I know.
Get him, Kevin. So for Trevor, are we not pumped about Etienne? Was he not awesome? Like, because he played with Trevor Lawrence in college, and that didn't seem to affect him. He didn't seem to affect him too bad. I'm not worried in the slightest. Matter of fact, it might keep defenses more honest and let Robinson face less 8-man boxes, and maybe there's a quarterback spy. I love it. Get a mobile quarterback. It's going to help him. Look at Lamar, what he does for that whole rushing attack.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, I highly doubt in the NFL he'll be doing as much running and as effectively as he did in college.
Skinny.
However, it is a skill set that he might be able to rip off some things here or there and make some plays. However, like you said, Ryan, I doubt they're going to design a whole lot of that. Just the face of the franchise, got to have your quarterback healthy type stuff.
And real quick, one other thing along with what Billy said, where he might not be doing as much of that. You see the guys like Carson Wentz that were kind of that improviser, maybe not full, running quarterback, but in college they improvise a lot. They get to the NFL, they start getting banged up. I think Trevor Lawrence is a guy that, especially the first couple of years, they're going to want to protect him if they have any sense. I hope that they do for his sake. So I could see them trying to keep him in the pocket a little bit more, not necessarily telling him, hey, don't use your legs, but they don't want him getting just destroyed out there.
And don't run him against
happened to Kyler last year.
They're paying Robinson. They're paying Robinson nothing. They're going to run him to death.
Yep.
Unfortunately, yes. He's a one contract running back.
Yeah, unless he's something special. Unless he's something special, which it's hard to tell. But he was special last year.
Absolutely.
He was with nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, let's talk about a guy or a team that isn't nothing. The Super Bowl champs 2 years ago, and then, they lost last year to my boy Tom Brady, the GOAT. So, with in the first round, 32nd overall pick, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and the Kansas City Chiefs, they added a very good veteran last year who I was super high on, and I had to eat crow on this. Billy, what's your dissection of this Kansas City backfield?
So you guys know I'm as higher than anybody on this show, this panel, our group here on CEH. I love the guy, and it mostly reverts back to my love for Andy Reid's running backs. Won some of my very first fantasy championships with Brian Westbrook, and just kind of always had an affinity for the system. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a little over 180 carries last year, less than 60 between Darrell Williams and Le'Veon Bell together. Le'Veon Bell is supposed to be the receiving threat, coming to help out a little bit. 3 receptions on the season. Neither one of these guys really play enough for it to matter. CEH is the guy you got to have in this offense. Now, he wasn't quite the top 5 guy that we saw heading into drafts as that rookie coming out. He did underwhelm a little bit, but he did show some flashes. And if you watch the Super Bowl, the kid ripped off some runs, man. I mean, he's a good player, maybe a little small for the NFL, but I love CEH. CEH was RB22 in PPR last year, missed 3 games, and really underwhelmed for what expectations were. So I think there's reason to be really optimistic. I'll still be hunting for him. Top of the second round, middle of the second round, hopefully. I'll have a lot of shares of him, and I think he won't last that long in drafts next year.
The only thing I want to add before Tom takes it from me is, do y'all remember watching his game or watching the Kansas City Chiefs and in the 5-yard line or 5-yard line and in, who was getting the ball? Everyone knew it. It's like Andy Reid would just not stop because he's got all this confidence in the world in the kid, I suppose. But when you look at his evaded tackles and his juke percentage, he had 48 evaded tackles last year, and his juke percentage is almost 25%. So 1 out of every 4 chances, he's going to juke you, and you're on the ground. He has 8 breakaway runs, too, so he's ripping off some good ones. The 10 zone, yeah. But 181 rush attempts, we probably saw his floor last year, right? Only 4 rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, is he worth the 1.03 or 1.04 that they had in the Scott Fish Bowl last year? Not in my mind, but I'm probably going to get him in the. I would hunt for him in the back end of the second. What do you think?
Still had 1,100 yards also total on the ground, so pretty impressive, really.
1,100 total.
Yes, yeah. Total 800 rushing, 1,100 total yards from scrimmage.
Yeah, and that's, in that offense, and he wasn't. They didn't let him go right off the bat either. So
no, definitely barely over 200 touches. So a lot to be excited about CEH with the real workload, health, second year in the system, and more creativity.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like CEH. I think that when you looked at last year's draft, it's clear who the winner was, and it was not the Chiefs. It was the Indianapolis Colts as far as running backs concerned. I think all of us would agree on that. But with that being said, after I laughed at Chris for taking CEH in the first round, early first round, I did get to watch him. And yes, he has a lot of promise, right? Yeah, he has a lot of promise. But I do have concerns about the fact that, yeah, he gets it a lot in the red zone, but this is a team that also scores from outside of the red zone at a pretty decent clip compared to other teams, right? So again, looking at last year, 4 rushing touchdowns, only 1 receiving touchdown. Those aren't great numbers. I'm really kind of hoping that he bumps those up this year. But I also wouldn't be shocked to see if the Chiefs took kind of a mid-round running back. I'm not super confident in Darrell Williams or Thompson or Derek Gore. None of those are really confidence-inspiring guys that if CEH went down or if, you're just trying to keep wear and tear off of him, that they're going to be able to run your offense. So I could see them taking, one of the guys out of North Carolina, somebody like that. Could be interesting. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, I like CEH, but I do not like where he's going. And y'all are talking about, you think that you're going to take CEH the back of round 2. Where are y'all taking Robinson at? Because I'm taking Robinson ahead of CEH 10 times out of 10.
Back round 2, you know what I'm saying?
It's a real hard coin flip for me.
Yeah, see, I feel like it's easy because I do think he's going to be touchdown poor for the majority of his career, just based off of those 2 factors y'all already mentioned, that he's a little smaller, and B, because they score from far out. Now, I do think what we should see go up a lot more this year is his catches, because he had 36 of them. It's not too bad, but yeah. I could see him doubling that legitimately this year. So he's going to be valuable. I'm just not going to reach for him.
Definitely not before the draft, that's for sure.
I mean, CEH, right? He's the only dude really that we're going to talk about on that team.
No, I'm not talking about anybody else.
So here's the big rumble in Sin City, guys. This almost hurt me just as much as the Texans asking every free agent running back to come on to Houston. Josh Jacobs, a true workhorse running back that elevated his gameplay last year with his receptions. They add Kenyon Drake, who I'm a big fan of too, right? I love the Drake. You look at these guys' numbers across the board, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more in depth because this is probably one of the duos that we need to talk about. They get similar workloads. They're looking at somewhere between 18 to 20 touches per game to be efficient, to have those 1,000-yard seasons. That's not going to happen now. They didn't pay Drake that money just to sit on the bench. He's going to relieve Jacobs every now and then, right? Jacobs is definitely still the number 1 guy. But for how long? I mean, Jacobs has always had health issues. Ryan, we know your distaste for Jacobs. So when we're looking at these guys, on Rumboyz too, when we were talking about this on After Dark, I was all gung-ho Jacobs all day, every day. Not going to ever let that go just because Drake shows up in this new John Gruden system. But it definitely affects his ADP. Last year in the Dynasty Bowl, in the Ryder Bowl, I drafted Jacobs 1.05. Now he's going in the 3rd, 4th round. That kind of sucks, right?
Yeah, for sure. Josh Jacobs, we were really looking forward to him taking over some of that receiving role, and it really didn't happen. I mean, he had an increase in receptions, but still only 45 targets. That's, less than 3 a game. That doesn't sound like the push that we heard in the, leading up to the season that was going to happen. And Kenyon Drake, he has been a guy who's caught 50 balls a couple of times in his career, and really for the first time last year got a significant amount of touches, 239 carries, by far his most. But he also had his first 900-yard season, and the way jump in touchdowns, having 10 total, 10 rushing touchdowns. So Jacobs 12. So it's going to be hard for them to both sustain those double-digit touchdown numbers in the backfield together. Unfortunately, I feel like whoever gets the receiving work will be the more valuable guy because I think they could kind of equal out the rushing numbers anyway.
Sorry, I was just going in on the chat. It's getting wild in there, guys. Hutchinson, Brown, Scott Davis, Kevin, Clock. great.
So I guess I'll hop in here with Jacobs. I still like him, but likely will not have him because I do think he lowered my value for him so much that he's going to go from the guys like Pinto that I'm in a draft with that are like, all right, man, this is a high reward type pick. And I'm thinking that his ceiling is now capped. I don't care about Drake. I really don't think he was that good last year. I really don't think he's been anything special per se. I couldn't believe he had 10 touchdowns because it felt like the first half of the year he sucked so bad. So he had some big touchdowns at the end of the big touchdown games at the end of the year. But like they were saying earlier in the chat, I'm probably avoiding both now. I don't want anything to Drake. I do like Jacobs, but Jacobs, as far as where am I going to get him and how am I going to get him? Because again, I'm going James Robinson over him all day.
Yeah. Again, same thing you guys are saying. Jacobs, if he drops a little bit, I'm all in. But at his current ADP, I just can't get with it. Drake, I'm not interested in. And really the guy that I think just lost out here, and I had him last year in a few leagues. He helped me out in some of those weeks where you have bye weeks or injuries. Jalen Richard or Richard, however you want to say it. He was nice in PPR. You look at his stats. 19 receptions, 138 yards, not too terrible for a guy that, again, he only played some games towards the end of the year, really, and it was enough to get you by. So I think he had potential, but we're about done with that now.
For sure. It's going to be a coin flip, really, and we'll just have to see what John Gruden and those boys do if they add Rondell Moore, the 4.27 guy. We'll see.
Who's got the highest? Who's got the lowest 40?
That was his 40, 4.27. Going on, though, to Justin Herbert's crew and his plethora of running backs that he has in Los Angeles. Guys, it's pretty good. We're not even at 30 minutes. We're already do 16. We're on the 16. That's pretty good. We might do a little bit of damage tonight, guys. Austin Eckler, Justin Jackson, and my boy, the Ballage, baby. What do y'all got on these guys? Or do I start? Am I starting? No, it's not me. It's Tom.
It's me. All right, fine. Let's be honest, Austin Eckler, one of the guys that I'm pretty big on. I think he's got good potential, and he's pretty cheap, in the long run for him. Looking at his numbers for last year, though, 4.6 yards per attempt, only 530 yards across 10 games. Not great, not terrible. But really, his biggest thing is receiving. Again, partial season last year, but 403 yards on 54 receptions, 65 targets. You look at the year before that, though, when he played the full season and only started half the games, actually. 993 receiving yards, 92 receptions, and 8 receiving touchdowns. If you're in a PPR, like, this is the guy to have, right? Justin Jackson, Joshua Kelly showed some promise last year. Definitely not opposed to, having those in deeper leagues, but not enough interest for me there to take either of them really any point in the draft until maybe the last couple rounds.
Yeah, man, I kind of agree. I agree with most of what you just said. I'm high on Eckler just because of the catch potential with what his price is, and Herbert developing year 2, utilizing that weapon that he has more often. It should open up the offense. I expect a bounce back year for Eckler, who just turns 26 this year. It seems like he's been in the league forever. And the other two guys, I like them as handcuffs to Eckler, but I don't think either one of those guys is going to be the answer. If Eckler goes down, they're going to have to do something, because I don't think either one of those guys can be a bell cow type back. They're just nice complementary pieces.
So Josh Kelly and Kalen Ballage, two young guys that have showed flashes of their talent. I feel like Kalen Ballage never really gets a real opportunity. Even when he gets an opportunity, it's kind of overshadowed by somebody else getting the goal line work or stuff like that. But especially in Miami, they just didn't play the guy. So I'm kind of excited for him. I like the physical specimen that he is, but I'm not sure that he's ever really going to break into a role that's other than everybody's banged up. He's a waiver wire guy that's going to get some work, and he's produced a time or two when he's gotten the work. But definitely a guy that I could see taking over this job if it weren't so crowded. Joshua Kelly, a guy I was really high on last year. I would have way overpaid to have him in Dynasty, and I still kind of believe in him a bit. Hasn't gotten hasn't really gotten into the game flow a whole lot with this offense. But new coaching staff, I could see him getting a bit of an opportunity that maybe he wasn't given before. Now let me get to Austin Eckler. This is a guy that when we get mid-season, like if you're trading or he's getting thrown into trade negotiations, people act like this guy's a borderline RB1. He's only had the one outlier season. So 4 years in the league, only one time has he been top 25. Now, he was RB4 that 1 year, but he had 90-some catches. Now, to put that into perspective, Phillip Rivers, between Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor, they had 100 receptions last year. Phillip Rivers throws to the running back an insane amount, and Austin Eckler was the healthy back in that backfield that season. Now, does he have that potential all the time? No, and we've seen it. Even last year, only 54 receptions, 39 the year before that. And he's playing, last year, he did only play 10 games, so 5 catches a game. That's around that 80 catch mark. I just don't see that being sustainable, especially when he's starting to get more and more carries all the time. He's a pretty small guy, a unique skill set, a weapon to say the least, but I feel like the Chargers need that bell cow between the tackles guy for Eckler to really flourish, stay on the field for a full 16-game slate.
Real quick, Kevin asked draft a running back. I assume he's meaning to the Chargers. This is another one of those teams I could see taking a guy kind of mid-round, third, fourth round to back up Eckler.
Good.
Yeah,
deep
and
draft
that
RB.
Exactly. And that could eat into Eckler as well. So that's where it depends on where you're getting him, if the value's there. And also think about this. Herbert has a lot more of an arm than Noodle Arm Rivers did. So I think that's where you get into him not throwing to the running back as much.
Absolutely.
I don't have anything to add. Daquel's hitting me. Moving on to number 7. I think this goes to Ryan.
I'll take it.
My
Talking
boy.
about the Rams.
Yeah, Sean McVay's homies. You know what I'm saying? Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson. They just got rid of Mal Brown.
Yeah, that's good news for both of those guys. I am not as high on Akers as I think most people are. I look at what his body of work was. I know he came on strong, and he came on strong late, but he still had just 4.3 and 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air. He wasn't really a factor through the passing game. And honestly, when you look at the whole season, Henderson outplayed him in every facet. He had more touchdowns, better yards per carry, more catches. I just look at what Henderson did, and I'm like, man, I saw that when he was a rookie, and it was never there. I feel like he took a good step in the correct direction, a la kind of David Montgomery a little bit, but not to the level that Montgomery did. But we're seeing a little bit more of what we thought we'd see from Henderson his rookie year and his sophomore year. If he can stay healthy, I think he's a real problem for Cam Akers owners, because he's going to be efficient in that lightning thunder combo that they have, and they could see a more even split than I think people are playing games with right now.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, and if you look at their stat line, they both average in the mid-40s in yards per game, so kind of a similar output on the end of the season. Akers had a real strong push at the end of the season, a 3-game stretch, kind of that back end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter of the season, where we really got to see the talent. And I think, Chris and I both agree on something like that. We talk all the time about Sean McVay, his offense, his guys. That's what makes Cam Akers extremely, extremely attractive. Now, is his talent something that we don't see across the league? No, I don't think he's just incredible. Ooh, Cam Akers over Monty.
Oh, Kevin, no way.
I don't know, man. But to Ryan's point about Darrell Henderson, he did average 4.5 yards per carry to Cam Akers 4.3. And Darrell Henderson was a 2nd-round pick. This is a guy that they think a lot of, they've thought a lot of. He really hasn't had a chance to get a real opportunity. Todd Gurley just left, guys. I think this is a backfield that could get a little bit hairy, and it might be like the Packers before they really freed Aaron Jones. Is it Jamal or is it Aaron Jones this week? Is it Cam or is it Darrell Henderson?
Man, I'm not going to add too much, but this is one of those situations where I was, I touted last season a certain backup running back over a certain first-round running back, and the value was just there. Could this possibly be the new value back in Darrell Henderson? Because when you, like y'all mentioned, I'm looking at their stats, looking at their numbers, and Henderson is outperforming Akers. Yes, Akers had the big push in the playoffs and in the postseason, but I mean, Henderson is going to be a 3rd-year back under McVay, knows the system, brand new quarterback who does not need to be put on the ground for all sorts of reasons. So I I think I'm going to fade Cam Akers this year, and I'm going to go Darrell Henderson as a value pick in most leagues.
Yeah, I have a confession to make. I love Memphis backs. I love Memphis backs. I'm falling in love with every Memphis back I see. I'm looking at you, Gainwell. I'm coming for you, buddy.
Hey, I love Memphis baby back ribs too.
Yeah, me too. They're good.
Tasty.
But I'll tell you what, looking at these guys' ADPs, Cam Akers, I'm seeing him in full point PPR is RB18, going about 307 in the draft. That's rich for my taste, right? But on the other hand, Darrell Henderson is the RB47, going at 1006 in the draft.
That's what we like, baby.
With that kind of value, I'm in on Darrell Henderson. Like we said, yards per carry, 4.5, just higher than Cam Akers. I don't think we're going to see a huge difference between the two, but yardage last year was split almost evenly by him, just a yard separating the two. And then receiving wise, he still had 16 receptions for 159 yards. Cam Akers only had 11 for 123.
And check this out. Henderson was actually more efficient under his opportunity share. Akers had 32.6%. Henderson had 31.8%.
Yeah.
That's good.
For the value, I'm taking Henderson all day, every day. And even if you're really that in on him, I wouldn't be mad at taking him in the 9th. I think the value is still there. Even early 9th round, I don't think it's that big of a reach because I think that he's going to have that good of a season. And if Akers does go down, all the better for him.
Oh, yeah. Did we just become Henderson truthers somehow? Did this just
I
happen?
think we might have. We might have just become Henderson truthers.
I just got goosies, and it wasn't because of the Dayquil.
We didn't even mean to.
No, we didn't. All four of us, we didn't even call about it.
The numbers are the numbers, man. When you start digging into these guys, you almost oversold yourself Akers and undersold yourself Henderson in a great offense. And both guys are getting opportunities. Both guys catch the ball in the backfield. And any day, these guys could have monster games.
And it's the underlier, though, right? It's not that we don't like Akers and we love Henderson. It's the value. Because we're talking about winning championships. I'm not just talking about sitting in a draft room and drafting and looking at my team and being like, ooh, my team looks so good. I want to win at the end of the season. How am I going to win? This is how you win.
Yeah, Henderson's going to – yeah, wow.
Where did Henderson finish last year? I want to look at that real quick.
Look it up. Henderson. Oh, wait, I can do it right here.
Henderson ended last year as RB 36 in PPR format. Okay, and Akers was 44. So you're getting one guy in the 3rd round, the other guy in, what do you say, Tom, the 10th round? 10th. That's really has potential to be a low-end RB2 given a decent workload, especially in that offense. Matthew Stafford now, definitely an upgrade. Deshaun Jackson, these guys finally got a real deep threat and a quarterback that'll throw downfield.
For 2 games.
Running backs,
I was going to say.
Yeah, for 2 games. But, hey, he does make defenses take a step back. That's a helpful thing for running backs. I like both of these guys, especially if they make a lot of trips to the red zone.
Heck yeah. Ooh, let's answer this real quick. Which one? Go ahead, Ryan.
I think that they have some similarities. I think Akers is a bit more powerful and Henderson's a bit more shifty, but they're not that different of running backs, in my opinion.
When I look at Darrell Henderson, I see that kind of typical Memphis back that we're seeing come out. These guys like D'Angelo Williams is just another guy. It's kind of the prototype that comes out of Memphis. Akers, maybe you think of as more of your Jonathan Taylor between the tackles, big, heavy, bruising, typical prototype style running back. However, I think Darrell Henderson actually fits that mold a little more than you think if you look into it. So I agree with you, Ryan. Pretty similar backs. I don't see any reason why either guy can't do just fine with Matthew Stafford.
And like we were saying, Scott, it's not that we dislike Akers. It's where you're getting in the draft versus where you can get Darrell Henderson, who quite possibly could outperform the guy that you take in the 1st or 2nd round, even in the 3rd sometimes, right? Let's talk about a trio that broke up, right? I just mentioned a little while ago, Mal Brown going into the Finns, baby. Myles Gaskin, Malcolm Brown, I don't think affects Gaskin too much. This is a guy that I kind of like. Billy, why don't you start us off down in the what's Florida? The orange? They got oranges? What they got down there?
Yeah, they got a lot of oranges. Yeah, so Malcolm Brown is a guy that I'm actually really high on. He's been really serviceable in spot starts throughout the years. 5 touchdowns each of the last 2 seasons, and if you got a hold of him on days where he was the guy, he could help your team out. I like him in really deep leagues as just a guy that might get some goal line work, and I think that's exactly what his role is going to be in Miami. He's going to be that big bruising back to take some of that workload off Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin missed some time last year, and he played really, really well down the stretch when he was back. He's a real weapon in this offense. I really like Myles Gaskin, and I'm glad they brought in a guy like Malcolm Brown to kind of help him with the stuff that he shouldn't be doing as that smaller statured back. If you look at Myles Gaskin's season, he only played 10 games, started 7 of them. Only 2 of his games, and they were first at the beginning of the season, first of all, were below 14 fantasy points. That's consistency, you guys. And he had a 36-point game, so he has the potential to give you a real nice floor at that 14 to 16-point range and a real big boom or bust in weeks where you might need a little bit of go. Matchup-based, obviously, but Myles Gaskin, a guy I really want on a lot of my teams this year, and I want him in my lineups.
I definitely agree. Man, how about Will Fuller 5 going down there too? He can stretch the field. Preston Williams, Ryan's guy, Gesicki, both of y'all's guy, and Devontae Parker, #SEC. There's no way that defenses, if Will Fuller can stay healthy and off the PEDs, Tua evolves this year after that wild season last year, right? Everyone's talking about Tua and how bad he was, but like coming off injury, shortened season, like come on, give the kid a break, right? This is the season I'm really excited about, and I think it's going to be the Myles Gaskin show.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I like Gaskin a lot. Don't get me wrong. The biggest factor for him last year, 41 receptions, 388 yards. That was the highlight to me. The low light was 4.1 yards per carry, only 584 yards. Yes, only in 7 starts and 10 games, but that's still not great, right? And again, Miami's offense wasn't even the big factor last year because Tua was struggling. Fitzmagic is coming in half of games. It wasn't great for him, but it doesn't give me ultimate confidence going into this year. This is a spot where, not to get too into draft expectations, but we were talking about this guy yesterday. We're not quite sure where he lands. It's kind of a weird situation, right? We saw his pro day, Rondale Moore. Oh, yikes. Watson, we're not going there. No, Rondale Moore, though. Pro day measured in at 5'7" on the dot. Not great there, but he also ran a 4.29 40 and has a 42.5-inch vertical. Now, that doesn't scream wide receiver a lot. Like, most people don't see Trace McSorley, this 6-foot-tall kid, and say quarterback. All right? But Rondale Moore could be a fun kind of gadget player that Miami could utilize as a slot guy, as a sub running back on third downs. And like, he's not an inside the tackles runner, but could be an interesting guy. And by the way, squats 600 pounds and did 24, 25 reps on the bench. I mean, he's strong, right? Like, could be an interesting piece. And if they did bring in a guy like that, I'm even less in on Gaskin because it's anybody else in that offense is going to start peeling away touches from him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big Gaskin fan. I don't think he's got any elite traits, but he has zero weakness. He's one of those complete backs that can do it all. He's not got the top end speed or the game-changing power, but there really is no weakness there. And when I look at him, I'm like, he's a serviceable to good back, and he can stay there. So that's not a problem, in my opinion, especially when Tua with that offense, it just didn't look good. It was a very dumbed down offense. If it can open it up more, utilize some of the weapons they have, they do have some weapons. It can open up the game for Gaskin a bit more. They might actually draft the running back too. We'll see. But I like Brown as a handcuff, but I'm going to be afraid to start him in this offense. I do think Gaskin is going to get more of the load. Again, they got him on the cheap right now. He is a young back. He was good last year. So I'm a fan of Gaskins. He'll be on a lot of my teams this year. I'm going to be getting quite a bit of exposure to a guy that I just think his value is there as an RB1.
Yeah, I'm looking at this real quick, and the only thing I want to add is when you add opportunity, your numbers tend to drop, right? Except for your yards and touches, right? The dude is, like you mentioned, Ryan, the dude is consistent, and very crazily, he increased rushing by, was that 18.6% over his rookie year versus last year, but his juke rate stayed the same. The dude is consistently, maybe he's not excellent, but he's very elusive, I would think. Almost a 1 in 4th ability to juke you. That's better than Madden, so I like that.
Yeah, and to Tom's point about Rondale Moore, I actually really like that fit in Miami. They got a guy named Jakeem Grant who's very similar size. I believe he's 5'7", under 180, small, fast guy that they really like to try to use. And I think Rondale Moore is actually the guy that they were hoping Jakeem Grant would be. So I like that fit. That could be really interesting. And I don't think it necessarily hits Gaskin too hard, maybe a little bit in receiving numbers, but Malcolm Brown's definitely not going to cut into that at all. So there might be plenty of that work to go around if Gaskin can stay on the field.
I want to add something kind of on a tangent, but talking about Rondale Moore, right? We see all this stuff about Rondale Moore on Twitter, his height being an issue, but he's got the big playing ability. I saw where someone was talking about Jukes in college, and you can't compare Jukes in college because he wasn't in the SEC, which I appreciate, but he still played against some really good defenses, right? And it don't matter. Like, you play to your level. What do y'all? I know we talk about comps a lot. I'm getting frustrated with people being like, "Oh, I'm comping this guy with this guy." I'm gonna start this new thing. Everyone is different. Until they get on the certain team they get drafted by, I'm not gonna say that he's comped to Tyreek Hill or he's comped to somebody else because I don't know, and neither do you.
Yeah, it's
not to you guys. I'm talking about to Twitter.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
The way I see it is, I like the closest comp is, if you're looking at what I'm expecting, it's easier for me to just say comp is Randy Moss than to go through all of these traits that, at the time, especially on Twitter, it's a time saver. You only have a certain amount of things you can say. So that's what I'm guessing.
Real quick, this was 30 minutes ago, but I didn't look at my phone. Not a huge deal, right? But the Saints signed a contract to tight end Nick Vanette for 3 years in a year where they were like $100 million over the cap, and everyone's giving 1 year's out. What does that say for Troutman? Real quick, right?
The Troutman in their plans, their guy skills to give him a 3-year extended deal in this month.
Uh-oh.
Billy got him.
Billy's back.
Oh, yeah. You guys went for a minute, then I went, I guess. Hey, Robert?
Yes, we're good.
Robbie's right, though. There is a fine line between a comp, not comp, and what the player reminds me. I think that's what Ryan was alluding to, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I'm not trying to use player comps. I'm trying to say, when I see this guy, he reminds me of Bang. That's how I like to talk about it. Like, okay, what I like about him is what I liked about this guy, or not necessarily that he's going to be that guy in the NFL, but like when I watch him, that's who the familiarity is when I'm seeing him.
Agreed.
I feel like Rondale Moore specifically is kind of a hard guy to comp because typically small guys don't break as many tackles as he does. He is a super fast guy, but he seems like a tweener maybe for the NFL. Hard guy to place. I really hope he ends up in the right system. I hope he ends up because I think he would be a big-time playmaker, but it's going to be a deal guy. I mean, we're really going off his freshman year. He's only played 7 games over the last 2 seasons, so not a huge body of work. Maybe it's body size. Maybe it's just he happened to get in here. I don't know. But over 100 receptions as a freshman in the Big Ten is really freaking impressive for a guy who they weren't really just pushing the ball to on a lot of underneath stuff. You see him catching a lot of post patterns over the middle and splitting the defense house. A lot of deep on the outside with corners guarding him too. He could be a really interesting offense for a guy like.
Uh-oh. Billy be back here in just a second, everybody. What you got, Tom?
No, you're good.
Oh, all right. Guys, this is 49 minutes, and we got 4 more teams. I think we can blaze through this really, really quickly. Let's start off. I'll kick us off right now with the Minnesota Vikings, right? You got Dalvin Cook. You have Alexander Madison, as y'all know, is my guy from Hamilton. If Dalvin Cook can be healthy, there's no reason really to talk about Alexander Madison except that he is one of the best backups in the league because of what he can do. both very young. I mean, Madison's turning 23 this year. Cook will be 26. Not too much to say about Cook because everyone knows about Cook. He's, last year he was in the top 3 talk. This year he could still be in the top 5 talk, or I'm sorry, top 3 as well. I don't need to talk about their numbers. Everyone knows about their numbers. But what do y'all think about them? Is Alexander Y'all go, Tom.
So Dalvin Cook is Dalvin Cook. I mean, yeah, if you don't know the name Dalvin Cook and what he does,
that's why you should be listening more to our show, please.
Yeah,
God, you don't know.
Attention.
You need to listen to every episode.
Yeah, that's rough. You are Patrick Starr if you don't know who that is, right? Alexander Madison, though, you might not know who he is, right? Looking at last year, played in 13 games, started 2. Not bad numbers here, right? Rushed 96 times for 434 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 4.5 yards per carry. Also had 13 receptions for 125 yards and a touchdown. So not bad numbers for a guy that really is a change of pace back every once in a while, just kind of letting Dalvin Cook rest more or less. And then starting 2 games and playing, would he play another half or maybe 1 full game aside from that when Cook would go down, right? He wasn't in there a ton. So good numbers, though, and probably one of the best. Yeah,
Tom holds that mic. He does.
That's what happens when you're just fire like you and Bo are, man. Like you just got to have it.
Right? No, but Alexander Madison, probably one of the best handcuffs in the league, knowing what he's capable of, right? So to me, he's worth, if you can get him super late rounds, by all means, take him. And it's a bench spot. And I'm fine with that. I have no issue with holding him on the bench if I have Dalvin Cook. Or even if I don't, I just don't have a lot of running backs. He's a good option to hold and hope. Well, not hope that somebody gets hurt, but in the case that they do.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook has had 2 straight 14-game seasons. When you're looking at running backs, if you can get 14 games out of them, sign me up for that. It's just in that territory. 14 games is enough for me. Cook had an exceptional year. Like you said, we don't have to get too much into it. But, man, when we go after, like, Madison late in drafts, I'm always snagging this guy because Cook is going to miss a game or 2. And when he does, Madison's a beast. You look at his numbers, they were comparable to Cook's until last year as far as efficiency goes. It was like you weren't missing too much of a beat when Madison came in. Now, Cook is exceptional. But I'm looking at Madison later in the draft and knowing, God forbid, if Cook really misses time, Madison's going to be a monster throughout. And then he's just going to be a guy, like you said, bench spot, take it over. I like it.
And Dalvin Cook looked elite the minute he got on the field for the Vikings. That rookie stretch right out of the gate was really impressive. And then he was banged up, missed a lot of time. But like you said, Ryan, back-to-back seasons with 14 games played. That kind of takes the woe out of the injury worry that we previously had with Dalvin Cook. Now, he did have some things. He was banged up a little bit this year. Still played really well. But Cook is a back. He's right up there with Derek, Alvin Kamara. The top-notch talent in the Dalvin Cook is that guy. Anywhere I own Dalvin Cook, which is a lot of places because I love him, I also own Alexander Madison unless someone's just holding him for trade ransom. Because you never know 350 touches like Dalvin Cook. They may have or they miss some time. That workload wears out later. Guys that have that will miss a little bit. So Alexander Madison will step in and give you the production we've seen him do in his absence. If you were to have him go down, it's really hard if you lose Dalvin, go find someone on the waiver wire for 2 or 3 weeks while he nurses an injury. That's gonna get just the workload, that opportunity. Alexander Madison is that guy, so they kind of go together for me. Alexander Madison is gonna get around 100 carries just in that RB2 role. Not a serviceable guy. As Dalvin Cook misses time, in NFL fantasy history, a great guy.
Pinto, you're muted.
Rip.
Every time, once an episode, the tradition continues. Golly. All right. Well, moving forward, guys. Tom, let's talk about New England. What do you have there? Because I don't even know what to talk about here.
Yeah, I don't even know, dude. They just brought in James White. They extended him. I think it was a 1-year deal.
2.5 mil.
Yeah, nothing super exciting. He has decent receiving ability. That's one benefit for him. He gets okay numbers. Sony Michel should be good. He hasn't been. Rex Burkhead is a free agent. Damian Harris, Jacob Johnson, JJ Taylor. It's nothing good. I'll tell you what. This is a team. My man Minshew would do real well here because Cam sucks. And then draft a running back. Draft one of the big name running backs in this draft because there's a couple of them. There you go. You also need a receiver, and you could use a little O-line help, and you need some help on defense. Yeah, this team's still
and a new
not
coach.
good. I'll let you go there, Ryan.
Oh, Pinto, you're still muted.
Twice.
Yeah,
Still muted.
He's going after it. He doesn't know.
He's just going in on mute and has no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure he knows. I'm not sure. He might be doing it on purpose now. He is doing it on purpose now. So I'm going to be looking at.
Sorry, guys. I was just on SportsMe doing a little battle for everybody. Y'all thought I was talking to y'all. I was talking to SportsMe app. There you go, SportsMe. We'll get you on there, baby.
All right. So for New England, this is a dumpster fire for running backs. I think Michel has the potential to be a guy. Damian Harris was awesome last year, 5.7 yards per carry. I think the only sure thing is James Whitt is going to be one of the leading receivers on this team. So I will have some exposure to Whitt later on, especially since they re-signed him. But the other guys, like I will be touching a little bit of Michel and a little bit of Harris to try to get whichever guy does emerge from this, because this is a team that can run. It's just other than a LeGarrette Blount year or back when they had Corey Dillon, they really haven't had that one guy be the guy. And there's no reason for me to really think that that's going to change this year, because I do think there's some talent in this backfield between Michel and Harris. Those guys can run. Michel has not been what we thought he was going to be. Harris has not had the volume to show it. But again, I'll look at Whitt, and I'm ignoring everybody else temporarily right now.
Quick question, Ryan. Did you say that you were going to be touching Sony Michel and James Whitt?
Yeah, all over.
All right. Billy, what do you got?
So this backfield last year, I rode Damian Harris in a couple leagues. He had 3 100-yard games and got the bulk of the carries in this backfield, and he showed all right potential. Almost no touchdowns, though, only 2 on the season for a guy that had some 20-plus touch games. But for me, in the Patriots backfield, the running back to have is Sony Michel, and he's probably not going to produce that much. He's not a guy you're excited about. However, to me, that's just the most talented guy in this running back room. And to me, talent, that it is what it is. The opportunities, he got 247 carries a year before this last season, not quite the same, but he also only started 6 games, only played 9 games. He hadn't missed a whole lot of time in years prior to that. So get him on the field full time, almost double his stats at 79 carries. He's up in that 180, 200 range. That's kind of where I expect Sony Michel to be. James Whitt coming back just kind of muddies it up like it always has. Nothing different here. The Patriots status quo. Go figure. There's 12 running backs in this team. Sure, you can throw out a Burkhead, and you can throw out that J.J. Taylor, I believe, was a running back last year, a little kind of scat back guy, almost a James Whitt wannabe, if you will, in that backfield. All these guys are talented. Good luck picking who to plug in this week.
Sorry, Billy.
Yeah, Iowa State Cyclones going down.
My wife is in the living room. I can hear her yelling. So good on y'all, women Ags.
Hey, that's all right. I'm a Hawkeye fan. I root for Iowa State a little bit because they're home state, you know what I'm saying? But when they go down, it doesn't hurt too bad.
That's fair. That's fair. I have nothing to add to this conversation. I just put it on SportsMe to see what the whole SportsMe world would think about this backfield, and I'll listen to them about it.
I hope that they all agree that this is a pretty garbage backfield.
Yeah, I hate Bill Belichick.
I don't see
I
why
hate
not.
Bill Belichick for fantasy. I really do. He has no respect for my fantasy team.
I legitimately think Sony Michel anywhere else is a Pro Bowl caliber running back. It's just they're so weird the way they do.
You might be right, Billy. I don't get it because I look at him, I'm like, whoa, and then I just see him play, and I'm like, what?
I mean, he had 5.7 yards per carry last year. I mean, he was only in for 9 games and started 6. But even in those 6 games, 79 rushes, He started 6 games and only had 79 rushes. Come on.
Cam Newton.
12-ish a game. I mean, none of these running backs get enough touches to ever get going. Even when they do have 12 carries, it's like 3 here, 3 there. You don't see him get in there and just get some work. And the guy in the red zone is never the guy that got him down the field. It's so odd. I would not be motivated to play running back in New England other than they used to put a lot of rings on.
Scott, you're going down this year, brother.
2 more teams tonight. Ryan. Whoo! This is a good one to talk about because really, I got questions about this backfield, and not so much with AK-47, but with Lat Murray. So tell me what you got on the New Orleans Saints.
Well, guys, I probably won't have Latavius Murray in many leagues. Alvin Kamara in many leagues because people are looking at him as an RB1 type guy, and I'm looking at Breeze is gone, and it concerns me direly. Now, is this guy still going to be an elite back? Yeah, but he is going to be going so early that I don't think I can justify taking him with the unknowns that Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston bring to the table. We saw there was a different player when Breeze was playing with Kamara and when anybody else was playing with Kamara. That was a different player, especially in the passing. Like, I didn't like what I saw. So I still think Kamara's a beast. Don't get me wrong. His numbers, he's going to be good regardless, but I think you may be paying up. We'll see, Scott. I'm coming. I'm going to make sure you're in my division. We'll see if you can even get the playoffs. For Latavius Murray, he's a great handcuff, A, and B, he's had some good years. They signed Kamara to a longer-term contract, so they need to get Latavius in there doing some of the bruising. The thing is, he's 31, and I mean, running backs can fall straight off of a cliff, but the guy's but he's rarely had over 200 carries. He's rarely this bell cow type guy, so he should age gracefully. I think I'll take another year of trying to get Latavius in a lot of the same ways I get Madison.
Yeah, it's all Kamara here for me. I like Latavius Murray. I'm a fan of the guy, and I was really high on him back on his days with the Oakland Raiders before they moved to Las Vegas. And he just kind of never really materialized. He's just a prototype style guy, like Christine Michael. We heard a lot about him. Just everything about him athletically is just a freak. And we saw Latavius Murray have the 1,000-yard season. But since then, he's really kind of your 1B, and he's a pretty good 1B at that. But it's all Kamara here if you're investing in the Saints' backfield as it should be. But like you said, no Breeze. Alvin Kamara's numbers really take a step back and be way more pedestrian than the Alvin Kamara that we know and love. A pretty damn good season this year nonetheless. Career high in catches, up that average from 81 to 81 and a quarter, adding the 83-yard catch season this year. So when a guy with the floor that's 80 catches and double-digit touchdowns is really hard to pass up. However, with Breeze, is this backfield, is this offense going to be a little bit different? I do have concerns. However, there's still only maybe 3 guys I'm taking over Alvin Kamara when I'm sitting at the draft table in August.
I get it. I'll take 4 or 5 maybe, but I'm with you, which is why I don't think I'm going to get Kamara if I'm at 5. He's not going to be there likely. I don't think I'm going to be getting him.
Yeah, I have nothing to add, Tom.
Do you know who would really help Alvin Kamara this year?
Gardner Minshew.
Exactly.
And he would.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I actually agree. I agree.
Tell me I'm wrong. That would actually, genuinely, he would help. I'm not trying to draw a direct comparison, and I know somebody will take it this way. But there are similarities between Minshew and Breeze. Size-wise, questions around arm strength, which, by the way, is some bullshit for Minshew. He has plenty of arm strength. Go watch the videos of him ripping it with the Mississippi mud flap here, right? But it's a similar type of player, right? His accuracy is not that of Drew Brees, and he's obviously not a 20-plus year vet that reads the field. But quarterback's going to be the biggest factor to Alvin Kamara. And the question is it famous Jameis? Is it Taysom, the running back, tight end, wide receiver, fullback, running back, offensive lineman, linebacker, punter, offensive coordinator, and various other positions? Is he going to be your starting quarterback, right? Or are you going to draft one? Or do you trade for Gardner Minshew? So depending on who it is going to be the biggest factor on what Alvin Kamara's season looks like. I think it's still a good year for him. Like we said, he was 81 receptions for the first 3 years, 83 last year. I don't foresee that dropping to 40 unless he has an injury or something drastic. But it could be 65, 70. There you go. Minshew and Brees to his hands.
Justin did
That
not
is an
know
interesting
that.
stat.
Okay.
You know what they say about big hands, right?
Big
gloves.
Yeah.
You know what they say about big gloves?
Big rings.
You know what they say about big rings?
Big penis.
I was going to say great mullets.
Oh, sorry.
Hey,
That's
y'all
what I've
remember
heard.
like our first or second show when we were live and Ryan didn't know we were live and he said
Yeah.
that and we were all like,
Yes.
what the? Now we're just like,
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah, that was rough. We thought that was a big deal back then.
Right. We thought that was a big deal. Shit.
I just hope Ryan had the underwear on his head.
Let's end the night with Ryan's team. And you know what? Let's do a reverse order on this one so Ryan can end it off talking about his guy. Tom, tell us about the New York Football Giants and their backfield.
Saquads is going Kobe comeback season.
I don't disagree with that at all, and that's really all I wanted to say, except for, Ryan, you have made me along with Kenny G, y'all know how much I like Kenny G, this offense is going to evolve. Danny Dimes is going to evolve. The Slay is going to evolve. Saquads is going to be back. This team, the starters, including Kenny Golladay, have played. Well, we'll exclude Kenny Golladay, but the starters, Saquon, Danny Dimes, Slayton, and Evan Ingram, have played a total of, 7 quarters together?
That's terrible.
Ooh, this season's about to be real good with Kenny G playing that music. Hey, clock. Saquon running back, too. That's Ryan's guy, too. I took him at the second running back in one of my dynasty leagues, and I just picked up Slayton, so y'all know how much I like the Voltron, and obviously Danny Dimes my QB1 in the Superflex League. But, Billy, what do you got on the quads?
Yeah, Saquon, a guy who had 2,000 total yards, 15 touchdowns as a rookie, 91 receptions, 121 targets that rookie season, and he wasn't far paced before that. I mean, he played 13 games as his second year and had 52 receptions as well. That guy can definitely catch out of the backfield. Last year, unfortunately, but G going to New York gets me really excited about this offense. I ended up with Saquon in a dynasty startup. I believe at like pick 7. He landed in my lap, and I ended up with Danny Dimes. Not too late, not too early. Actually, got him right after Ryan stole Carson Wentz from me. I ended up with the Danny Dimes, Saquon Barkley hookup, as I've grown up calling it. So excited for those guys, especially with the Golladay edition. I think it just makes Saquon actually get to play against an honest defense for once. It'll be really interesting to see what he can do coming back. Something to prove. Saquon's different. He jumped over Hawkeye and jumped into our hearts. We love Saquon. I really hope that we get to see a full 16-game slate as this offense gets healthy, stays on the field together, and gets to do some development as a unit.
Yeah, I just think raw talent, there is no guy in the league that can touch him. When you talk about speed, power, elusiveness, the works, he is a monster. And all he has as far as questions is health. So if he can stay healthy, I see no reason why he doesn't finish RB1. He will be my RB1 through every single format. I just can't get over that talent. It's got me right where if he gets hurt again, I probably will still not be able to stop myself because the talent is there that I think he has a ceiling that only CMC really matches as far as maybe Kamara too when you talk about the receiving ability of these guys because 91 catches as a rookie. How many guys have ever done that? And that was on top of 1,300 rushing yards on top of that. I mean, he cracked 2,000 yards his first year in the league. Now, his health is his concern. But now, like you said, this offense is going to be the best Giants offense we have maybe ever seen. Full stop. When Golladay, with Jones taking the steps I'm expecting, Saquon is an all-universe type back. Darius Slayton as a wide receiver, too, is fantastic. Evan Ingram is as talented of a tight end as we have in this league. He's just had his own durability issues. Oh, my gosh, like literally looking at this offense. Plus, I do think the line's going to be better. They did get better as the season progressed last year, and I do expect them to address line in the draft once again. The trenches, maybe not necessarily just line. The defense is a beastly defense, so Saquon should get the opportunity to pound the ball with a lead. I do expect 2,000 all-purpose yards plus this year, and I am expecting 18-plus touchdowns. This Kobe thing, the mic drop you're talking about, Tom, I think there's very real anger. The Giants mentioned maybe not extending him or picking up his his fourth or fifth year. Ooh, you don't say something like that to your Saquon might be gone after this year. You should have not have disrespected him in that manner. Look what he has done. I know he was hurt last year, but you have short memory. You forget what he is. And he's going to remind the entire league that he's the best running back that we've seen maybe ever.
Ryan,
I'm all about him.
I got a question for you, Ryan. One of your guys, Darius Slayton, how do you feel about him getting to play with a guy like Kenny Golladay?
I love it. I think it opens up the offense entirely. I think Slayton I think also I like Shepard even more as like that little slot underneath guy. Ooh, man, there's so many weapons. I became a believer on Shepard this year watching him because I was so high on Slayton. Y'all saw before I was grabbing him so much. Shepard is like a little volume-sucking receiver. He should be like he really does. He'll be the underneath guy. Slayton will be the mid. Slayton kind of has the deep threat taken care of, and then Golladay has the whole field. And now you got guys not being able to stack the box against Saquon. You have a quarterback in his third year that should be better. He's gotten to know the system a little bit more now, and he's going to have every weapon at his disposal. I am putting money on the Giants winning the division. I think that they're that good. Their defense is really good. They're not Washington level good, but they are very good. And the offense is in another dimension from Washington. So I want as much of this team as I can get. And if I have the first pick in a redraft, Saquon's on my team.
I like this offense with those three receivers. Ingram split out wide. Technically using Ingram as another slot receiver, kind of a 4-wide set with Saquon in the backfield. Oh, man, he might break some records for yards per carry before he gets touched this season.
Yeah, it's
real quick, guys. I think we might be able to get through one last team because it's going to take about 3 seconds. The next one on our list is the New York Jets.
Oh, that's fair.
Michael Perrine, garbage. Ty Johnson, garbage. Josh Adams, garbage. Pete Guerrero, garbage. All right, I'm done.
One guy that's not garbage. He might be a little garbage, but not too much. Tevin Coleman just signed.
Oh yeah, that happened today. I don't like it.
There you go. You have an okay running back.
I mean, let's not go that wild.
Hey,
serviceable
on the Jets.
Now, listen, when Tevin Coleman played in Atlanta, he originally stole a job from Devontae Freeman, and people seem to forget that so quickly because he got banged up. Devontae Freeman had a stretch that only Marshall Faulk could match in production and kind of took the job back. Tevin Coleman, super fast guy. This guy has real deal speed, NFL size, and kind of got lost in the backfield in San Francisco, in my opinion. Very talented dude. I really like Tevin Coleman to this offense as they continue to kind of grab little pieces that'll fit. Also, familiarity with the head coach, coming from the 49ers, bringing Tevin Coleman with him. Little nugget there. And LaMichael Pirine, a guy I'm kind of high on in Dynasty because everybody forgot that this guy played at Florida and he's actually a pretty good running back. And he's been banged up and didn't really get a lot of an opportunity and spent some time with Frank Gore. If you spend some time around Frank Gore and you can't up your game a little bit, I'm not sure what you're doing, young fella. So Pirine I'm still semi-interested in. I'd like to see how it plays out, but I'm kind of buying Pirine in Dynasty where I've got some depth spots that I could, snag some guys that I see potential in.
That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, I'm not touching this team. I still don't. I like Coleman better than everybody you listed at the beginning, but Gase is gone, so at least I got to see what they're going to do. I don't think they're going to be able to run because they're going to be getting the crap kicked out of them the whole game, and they're going to have to throw. I don't like the running backs situation for the Jets in general.
Sure. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Guys, before we sign off tonight, Ryan, let's talk about our St. Jude Bowl that we're starting up, filling these leagues coming in. We've already got some people from the Rumboyz in. We've got obviously some returning players last year who are going to be getting in. What can we expect this year versus last year?
Well, we're going bigger. We're going bigger this year than we did last year, if that's possible. We're also going to be expanding. Any of the regular listeners, we're going to be expanding into auction, best ball, guillotine, vampire, rankums, and pickums. We're doing all of that stuff this year as well. So we're expanding and we're growing at the same time. We're expecting to raise so much more money for St. Jude this year. It's going to be a blast. Again, as the season gets closer, we'll start filling all of these leagues up. We'll be getting with everybody through email about what league you're in, what formats you want to do. We're going to have that going. Probably, guys, I'm just throwing this out there on the air right now live. Probably after the NFL draft, we'll start putting all that stuff and getting it filled, I would say, right? That seems like a relatively good time frame. So yeah, once the NFL draft happens, I would say that we're going to be going straight into filling up more leagues than last year, more divisions than last year, and more formats than last year. So it's for a great cause. It's a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of people in it. Come show what you got against a lot of the best people in this industry. Let's see what you got. Bring it on.
Billy, what are you currently working on, man? And geez, like, obviously you were the guy that brought the St. Jude Bowl to us and was like your baby, right? And we all kind of helped you bring it in together. Ryan, getting in touch with St. Jude, our marketing, all this kind of stuff, man. Obviously, this is going to be a big year for us, year 2, right? The sophomore year. What are your expectations from it? Because mine are pretty high, like Ryan's.
Yeah, starting last year, we were kind of, had some concerns about being able to fill it in a way that would be applicable for what we were building. And thankful to you guys, our listeners, our supporters, we were able to actually expand it as we were taking sign-ups. So really excited to do it again. It was a great event. I think everybody had a really good time. We had really no hiccups. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of trash talk, a lot of interaction in the leagues. One of the more fun events I've ever been a part of myself. And glad we could all kind of do it together and kind of make this thing our baby. I'm really excited for year 2. As we saw the vision kind of happen last year, it kind of opened our eyes to what more we could do and what more we could bring to you guys, our fantasy cohorts. So excited for you guys. Hey, even if you've never played fantasy football and you want to get started, join us. We have a safe spot for you to come and learn and kick around some ideas. It was really fun to see people trash talk, but also just the camaraderie that fantasy football can bring in a league with really people that are total strangers for the most part. I mean, you might have known somebody in with you, but, across several divisions, really interesting, fun talk. I'm excited for all these other things that Ryan has in store for us. He's really got a big dream here and has an awesome vision to pull it off for you guys. So it's really going to be fun. Glad to be working with St. Jude's, and I can't wait to get that. As far as what I'm working on, I'm just starting to dive into these rookies as I have time here. And, man, this rookie class is so deep, and so many guys are so unique that it's a lot of fun to kind of watch these guys and dig in. So,
a lot of people don't get to see what we have in our live chat between the 4 of us, where we're talking trash between the 4 of us behind the scenes, and we're laughing and stuff. We always seem to come up with something. Like Ryan and Billy always said, like, the 4 of us together always just do wild things. Obviously, we're moving forward, closing a chapter and opening up a new chapter with this new St. Jude Bowl. Well, I think we just came up with a name, Tom.
Yeah, so last year the theme for our divisions were busts, right? So we had what did we have? The Tim Tebow League. We had the Couch. Was it Tim Couch League? Right? We had some real
Money Manziel, baby.
Manziel, yeah.
It was all busts.
Right?
Lawrence Taylor, baby.
Yep, there you go. This year, fantasy first rounders, we're going to be doing first round big names. So get ready. I'm not going to spoil anybody.
Dibs on Saquon. Dibs on Saquon.
All right.
Well, it looks like there's one division already named off the list.
Yeah.
I want to be in the Edgerton James division. He won the first round, I hope.
I think he did. I think he did.
He got drafted. Oh, yeah, he was way high. Never mind. He was like 5 overall. That's right. Yeah, Edgerton James division. Come join me. Lock it in. That's who we are. The winner comes out of the Edgerton James division. Calling it right now in March.
So here's the thing, guys. Go to @FantasyFR Live on Twitter. It's our Fantasy First Rounders Live Twitter page. Let us know ideas you have for players that we should use, first round picks that you want to see these leagues named after. Right? They could be obscure. They could be big name players. Whatever you want. Shoot us a message on again FantasyFR Live on Twitter.
We have a really good graphics guy in FF Peacock who will have some fun doing these graphics for us. Guys, before I don't even know what to do with myself right now. Like, the sun's still up. So let's just give the sign off, right? Where can everyone follow you at? Where can everyone find us at? Tom already gave us our Twitter page, but Tom, where can everyone find your hot takes? Oh, don't forget to tell people about the Gardner Minshew thing.
Hey, man, you know about it. If you follow me at FFRTom on Twitter, I mean, you hear me every week in the show here talking about Gardner Minshew and how he has the same hand size as Peyton Manning, right, at 10.13 inches, right? It's good company. So my love for Gardner Minshew extends to Twitter mostly because my personal team, the Eagles, are absolute dumpster fire now. So we're just gonna get Minshew a job. So working on getting hashtag Start Minshew 2021 trending. We had a little bit of a blow up today on Twitter, so let's get it going. Let's help this man who deserves some respect with the Mississippi mudflap to get a job starting in the NFL next year. At FFR Tom. Also, just come bullshit with me. I'll roast you, or you can roast me. I don't care. Ryan, what do you got?
You can find me at Real Ryan Hicks. I was working on some dynasty stuff, but I'm so consumed at these rookies right now. That's all I'm working on. I finished running backs yesterday. I didn't tell you guys that. Not finished. There's still some guys I want to dive deeper on, but I've gone through my list and I've done some scouting on every running back. I got about 30 more receivers to do to finish them. That's really where my attention is right now, because before I am an analyst or a writer, I am a fantasy player and I want to kick everyone's ass. So I'm doing my studying right now. So you're not going to get as much content from me at the moment, but I'm not on Twitter that much. You tag me though. I'll come hop in and talk some trash or back your take or whatever you want to do. But right now it's just, I'm consumed with those rookies. This is the deepest draft I have ever seen. People are talking about it being the best draft that's ever been. It might be that. It could be that when I look at top to bottom, between the elite guys and the depth, all things considered, I am really in love with this draft right now. So we're going to see. Ooh, I like Tom with the I'll let you say that if you want to in the private chat. I didn't realize that was private chat.
The Jameis Winston Crab Legs League.
Scott says I need to study to beat him. Scott, I study because I do. That's why I study, because I beat everybody. And that's how I keep beating everybody as I study.
Yeah, you can follow me at BWitt24. Just diving into these rookies as we recap last year's guys and kind of some of these moves in the backfield. We starting wide receiver soon, so kind of excited about that with some of these free agent moving. T.Y. Hilton back to Indy. Happy about that as well. So I'm just ready for this NFL draft to see where some of these guys land so I can start assessing how much I got to have them or not.
Well, everybody, y'all know y'all can follow me at Aggie Kappa Sig. Ryan and Billy Tom, they definitely need to get their studying, and your boy over here doesn't need to study too much because, I kind of win things over here left and right. So, I learned a lot from these guys. Don't let my manager abilities fool you. I'm always on the waiver wire. I'm going to crunch. But I learned a lot from these guys, so follow all of them. Follow me. Guys, we're the Fantasy First Rounders. We'll be here every Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat place, guys. Have a good one.